Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ridiculously Serious, a show where we draft teams from absolutely ridiculous categories and have a completely serious debate about them. My name is Mike, and I'm your host. I am here with my co-hosts, Joe and Brandy, who we're once again going to learn a little bit more about. Hello, Joe. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
So tell me, let's go with what's your favorite ice cream?
All right, so my favorite ice cream is chocolate chip cookie dough, and I am one of those people that eats all the ice cream and leaves all the cookie dough for the end. I was way more neurotic about this as a kid, to the point where I would actually put the ice cream in my mouth, let the ice cream melt, and then spit the cookie dough back out into the bowl. I don't do that anymore, I promise. But yeah, that's how I do it.
All right, thanks for tuning in to Weird Eating Habits podcast. We will see you guys next week. We appreciate the listen. All right, we have Brandy too. Tell me, Brandy, what is your favorite animal?
Frog.
Frog, okay.
That's it.
I don't know if I've talked to somebody before that their favorite animal was a frog.
Really?
Yeah, you might be a first on that one.
I feel like every other person I run into now, maybe it's just because I talk about them so frequently that I find other people that also thoroughly enjoy frogs.
Oh, I know people that like frogs for sure, even love frogs. I've just never heard anybody say frogs were their favorite animal.
Oh, they're great.
They're
pretty
cool.
Great. I love them.
You would have liked my last night. My wife and I were walking on the beach last night right after sunset, and there were frogs hopping along in the sand. We saw probably about 6 or 7 of them. We were watching them for a little while. They're pretty cute.
I'm a big fan of Kermit. He's a great guy.
No, pass.
Yeah, I'm going to take a pass on Kermit as well. You're going to be outnumbered on that one. I'm sorry. I can't.
All right. Thanks for coming to Bad Opinions Podcast.
That was probably a better joke than mine.
Yeah.
All right. So what we do have now is big reveal time. If you missed last week's episode, we drafted the worst movie quotes to use during a job interview. If you're being forced to interview for a job you don't want sometime soon, go give it a listen and maybe you'll get some ideas. You can get hired or not get hired, on purpose. But the winner of the job interview draft was me. One again, back to back.
2 in a row.
Back to back. It took me a while to get started. It took me a while to get off the ground. But went back to back. So nice. Exciting times in this guy's life. I'm glad, because I was starting to get worried, because this is all I have. Like if I'm not winning these drafts, what is my life? Like
that just means you're not allowed to win the random number generator. Or, me and Joe are both quitting the podcast.
Well, that was what was keeping me going. Like the first 2 weeks when I lost the draft, at least I won the number generator, so I had like a reason to be, Mm-hmm. But yeah, so before we get on to today's topic, I just want to give a quick shout out to our new international friends, because that happened this week.
Guten Tag.
The podcast host site that I use gives you information on what countries your podcast is being downloaded in. And last week's episode had listeners in France, Germany, and New Zealand, which is pretty cool. So I thought I'd give that a cool mention. But yeah, so on to today's draft, which is Best Conspiracy Theories. Don't worry, this isn't about to turn into a political mess. This is a comedy podcast. This is going to be, fun conspiracy theories. I, for one, am very excited for this one. I love a good conspiracy theory, like really just deep dive and learn about all the craziness. We'll each be picking 5 of them, using as much tinfoil as we possibly can. Just firmly placing the whole hat on the head, getting ready to go. The first thing we have to do, though, is sort out the draft order. I'll take the reins back this week now that we've proven it's not rigged, even though Brandy just said we might have an issue there. So I guess hopefully I lose. I don't know how well that would go down. All right, so Brandy, go ahead. You can kick it off with your number.
I'm going to go with 37.
37. Joseph.
83.
I thought you were going to do 13 again. That's what I thought I was about to go.
I was waiting for it.
So 37 and 83. I'm going to go 99. I know it's not the smart pick, but I just have a feeling. I feel like that's also kind of boxing myself in now because now if I do win, you might think it was rigged. but I'm gonna go 99. I'm almost afraid to click this button now, to be perfectly honest. All right, good. It was 5, so I get last pick. So Brandy picks first of the order, and then Joe gets second choice, and then I'm last. So Brandy, where would you like to go? First, second, or third?
I want to go first.
Okay, sounded a bit undecided there. That took some thinking, apparently.
Yeah, I had to think about it because I was like, there's one that I absolutely love that I would like to get, but there's also one that I have that I think you guys might have. So I want to grab it.
Gotcha. Okay, so I know where I'm going, but Joe, go ahead and pick next.
I have one that I really, really want. It's like just one of my favorites. So I'm going to go second.
Oh, okay. I was wrong. I thought for sure you were going to take the wraparound.
I would have taken first over second, but I really want to lock up this one pick. And I just want Brandy to not pick it first.
Sure. Okay. All right. So there we go. There's our order. Brandy, Joe, Mike. So go ahead, Brandy. Kick us off.
You know what? I lied and I already changed my strategy. This one is the funniest thing to me that I have ever heard because I've never heard of this conspiracy theory. And I was just frantically Googling conspiracy theories last night. And I found a list, and this was not on any of the other lists I had looked at. And it is the conspiracy theory that Prince Charles is a vampire.
Yeah, I saw that one as well when I was doing my research.
There were so many that were like, yeah, that could be legitimate. Yeah, that's a thing, whatever. And then it was just, this one just jumped out at me. I was cackling in my bed, but they have some reasons behind it. Apparently it's related to Vlad the Impaler.
Does he sparkle? I think that's a thing vampires do, right? They sparkle, and they creepily stare at you while you sleep.
Only in cinema. That's not real. Thank you. Yeah.
As opposed to vampires, obviously, and the real things they do.
Yeah, we're talking about real vampires.
So for those who are unaware, Vlad the Impaler is the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula. And apparently many royals in Charles's bloodline were known to have the disease porphyria, which is an iron deficiency that causes, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Well, it's an iron deficiency.
It's an iron deficiency that causes people to be sensitive to sunlight.
Oh, so it's a cover-up.
So that's their,
So he doesn't really have porphyria. He's a vampire.
Yeah.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah.
It was the initial headline that got me.
Sure.
Once I read it, I was like, yeah, I could see how people would latch on to that.
Sure.
But that killed me.
It's a strong start. I like it. Taking down a member of the royal family. Big fan. All right, Joe, go ahead. Number 2.
Oh man, I'm so glad I'm getting this one because this is just like an all-time great. Like, if there was like a conspiracy theory Hall of Fame, this would be like first year induction, in my opinion, at least. You can't ever talk sense in these people, and there is just absolutely no possible way. Like, a lot of conspiracy theories could be true. Like,
sure,
feasibly they could be. I'm talking flat earthers here.
Sure.
I'm talking like people that believe in things that have been disproven for hundreds of years, can't possibly be even remotely close to the truth. Their own science often debunks their theory.
Sure.
And I actually ran into someone, a little quick story behind this one. I was at a library, and there was a flat earth person outside the library doing like a presentation, and she like gathered a group of her people, and they went inside for an indoor presentation as well at the library. And I walked in, and I said to the library guy, I was like, man, like, why do you do this? Like, why is this something that you're allowing at the library? Like, I was like, I'm all for people like,
of all places
having freedom, but like, this is just disinformation. And he looks at me and goes, look at the calendar, winks and walks away. And I look, and it's Groundhog Day, which is interesting because a groundhog shadow is, and any shadow really is caused by the curvature of the earth.
Yeah.
And the sun being in a different position. And I thought that was the funniest thing. He was
That
like,
is pretty
on
funny.
patrol.
That's
He
amazing.
just said, "Look at the calendar," and walked away. He didn't say another word to me. I was like, "Oh, this
That is pretty
this
funny.
guy's good."
That
See,
guy's-
So
I don't mind that you took that. I had that on my list. I figured it would go. Like, I figured it would go early.
Sure.
I didn't mind who took it because the only thing I cared about was noting the anecdote that there is a flat Earth documentary on Netflix. And it's a really good documentary because the person who made it wasn't making fun of them. Like, it was kind of done from a perspective where he just kind of let them talk and stuff. So like, they were making fun of themselves, you know, like it wasn't just some guy picking on flat earthers. He was just kind of letting them do all the talking. So at the end of the way that it ends at the end of the documentary is they spent like $20,000 to get like this high-tech scientific equipment to do this whole experiment with lasers to show that over distance the laser is straight, to show that the Earth is flat. So they do this whole experiment, they set it all up, and the laser misses, showing that the Earth is curved, and then the documentary ends. Like, they shoot the laser, it shows the Earth is curved, and then the screen goes black. And it's just one of the best endings to any film or anything I've ever watched.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
phenomenal.
That is phenomenal. That is.
So that was, I didn't care who drafted it. I just wanted to be able to share that anecdote for people who
Yeah.
haven't seen it. All right. So I have my first pick, my wraparound. I'm super excited. I'm actually pretty happy with the wraparound because there was one that's like my all-time favorite conspiracy theory. And I was a little worried about it getting picked. So that's why I was worried about going third. But now I also get to guarantee that I get my second one, which is my new favorite one that I found doing this research. And I'm like so excited. I'm so excited. So the first one, which is my all-time favorite, and I'm sure you guys will not be at all surprised by this, is that birds aren't real.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So for people who aren't aware, there's an actual legitimate conspiracy theory. Like, this isn't like one whack job on the internet. This is like a real conspiracy theory that there's no such thing as birds, like, at all. Like, not like some are birds, some are fake. There are no such thing as birds, and every single bird in the sky is a government drone. And that is like by far my favorite conspiracy, not least of which because the memes from it are absolutely hilarious. Like, anytime you see a bird next to like an electrical outlet or something, there's like a meme about it recharging, or, you know, like, something. They're just phenomenal. But also because I'm terrified of birds. Like,
that has something to do with it.
but in like a practical way though, because the thing is, like, the two things I'm scared most of, like the two animals I'm scared most of, are birds and ants. And I won't get into the ants thing because it's not related to the subject. But if birds ever became like kind of like enraged with humans and decided to like team up and like fight humans, you'd never be able to go outside again. They fly and they have knives on their faces.
Ask the Australians in the midst of pecking season.
That's to me that sounds terrifying. I'd rather have
What?
I'd rather
I
have a
believe
scorpion in my
I don't
slipper.
know if that's the correct term that they use for it. It's something along those lines, but they have these birds, and it's like a certain time of year, I believe. I used to have a friend that lived in Australia, so this is some old information that I have. But they have these birds that would swoop down and try to peck out your eyes.
Yeah, that's
Nope.
horrifying.
So they would have to go outside with these umbrellas to try and deter the birds. She would talk to me about her mom being paranoid to run out to the car to get something because she was just scared that she was going to get attacked by these birds.
Yeah, that's horrifying. That's terrifying. So that's why I like this conspiracy theories, because I would prefer if they were government drones, because then they're not like living beings that could just attack us whenever they want.
Yep.
That's way less terrifying to me. So that was my first pick. I'm happy I got that. My second pick, this is my new favorite one. I found this in my research, and I never knew this was a thing, and I don't know how I never knew this was a thing. So it turns out, again, this is not like some one whack job. Like, there's like websites dedicated to this. Not so much anymore because it's a little older, but I found like old articles and stuff. So there was a conspiracy theory that Britney Spears was a government conspiracy because all her breakdowns all lined up with times when like the heat was on George W. Bush. Like, every time something bad came out, or George W. Bush did something bad, Britney Spears had some type of public like meltdown. So like, I read through the list and they actually line up like hysterically. Like, one was like, what was it? One was like when he fired Rumsfeld. That's when they took the photograph of her driving with her baby on her lap. like in the
Oh my
driver's seat.
God.
And then there was
Yeah.
like another one, something with like a very controversial bill he passed, but that is when she shaved her head. Like literally every time he did like his most controversial thing of the time, she had some type of public meltdown. So there was a whole conspiracy that she was like a government plant to like take the public eye off George W. Bush.
That's wild, honestly.
That's amazing.
Can you imagine though? Because the thing now that they're talking about is that her father has been involved with all of this
Sure.
because of the conservatorship. But can you imagine if it's because her father is somehow tied in with George W. Bush?
I will say on a serious note, since it was brought up,
no.
I definitely feel for Britney Spears. She's had a really rough go of it, and the whole situation
Free
with
Britney.
Yeah, seriously, because the whole situation with her father is a mess. Who knew that
Yeah.
Curtin guy was right? The guy that did the video, "Leave Britney alone."
Oh, Chris Crocker.
Oh, Chris
Yeah.
Crocker.
He was 100% right. Like he was way ahead of his
He
time.
was. Never
Was.
thought I would say those words. Not about that exact scenario, but just about Chris Crocker in general.
But yeah,
But
all the love
Chris
from
Crocker's
every
right.
I've heard from multiple people, because I used to do like some acting and stuff, like lower, never like anything famous, but like I met people here and there, and I've heard from multiple people that Britney Spears is like an absolute sweetheart, just like the nicest person. So all the love to Britney, unless she's a government, conspiracy to like trick us, then forget you. But other than that. All right, so that's my old favorite one and my new favorite one. So Joe, you can go ahead with your second pick.
I was gonna save this one for later, but we're on the subject of pop stars. I'm gonna go with the replacement of Avril Lavigne.
Sure.
This one really gets me because it's basically they took a conspiracy theory that was used on Paul McCartney from the Beatles,
Sure.
like decades before, and they said the same thing happened to Avril Lavigne. She
Sure.
died somehow and was replaced by
Melissa. Yeah, her double.
yeah,
Yeah.
Melissa. Yeah. I always thought this was ridiculous, not only because obviously
Sure, it's ridiculous.
the Avril Lavigne that we've seen has been the Avril Lavigne the whole time. But even more than that, I don't mean to be rude to Avril Lavigne or her music or anything, but is she worth replacing?
I mean, at the time, listen,
I don't think so.
I get what you're saying, but I'm just going to say I won't host a podcast where I let you crap on early 2000s Avril Lavigne. I just won't stand for it.
Listen,
Also,
I've got that CD. Don't worry.
people across the world might disagree. Apparently, after she came out with that song, where she had used some terms in Japanese, she blew the frig up in Japan.
Really? I didn't know
Was
that.
unaware.
Years later.
All I
Yeah.
know is Skater Boy is great, but I'm With You is such an underrated. Come on.
Oh,
The whole first album
still
is
tugs at my
good,
heart.
and even the second album's pretty good. But like,
I get what you're saying. I do. I
She
get what you're
wasn't-
saying.
yeah,
She's
she
not Paul
wasn't top
McCartney.
tier.
She's not Paul
right,
McCartney is what
exactly.
you're saying. Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine how much money it would cost to essentially replace a human being between paying that person, training that person. Obviously, some sort of plastic surgery would have to be
Sure.
done extensively, an
Sure.
expensive surgery,
Yeah.
and everything would have to be kept in the wrap. So anyone involved would need to be paid off, so on and so forth,
Or
Yeah.
dead.
or deaded. Maybe
Unless
deaded.
she was
I
good
don't-
enough to fool
So-
everybody that Avril knew.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's just ridiculous, and it's even more ridiculous that it's just a reused conspiracy theory
Sure.
from a few decades prior.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. All right, Brandy, you get your first wraparound, picks 2 and 3.
Oh, I always forget that it comes back to the wraparound. I didn't pick my pick 3 yet, but my pick 2 will definitely be every conspiracy theory behind Area 51.
Sure. I think that's
Yeah.
fair as just a category of conspiracy
In
theories.
general,
Sure. Sure.
the fact that Area 51 exists and they test on extraterrestrials and such there.
I just want to say that this is one of the ones that I think is most likely to be true.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I don't think
Yeah.
it's true, but I think it's the most likely.
well, the problem is I'm a little I don't know how to rule as the host with letting this go as a conspiracy theory, because I saw a documentary where they proved that there were aliens in Area 51. It was Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum. There were a couple other like really famous people in there, and they did some amazing investigative journalism.
yeah.
And they found
I
out.
believe
They
it.
got inside Area 51. They found out that the aliens were real.
Wait, Jeff Goldblum's in Men in Black?
No, Independence Day.
Oh, you're talking about that movie.
Yeah.
I heard Will Smith and just went there with aliens.
My brain also
No,
went.
Independence Day,
Men in
because
Black.
in Independence Day they go in Area 51.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or I don't know if they ever call it Area 51 in the movie, but it's Area 51. Like they go in a building in the desert that has aliens in it. Like that is what it is. But yeah, that's definitely a fun one.
Yeah, well, I especially like that one because of in recent years, I believe 2019, where they came up with the Area 51 raid.
Sure.
That's
yeah.
still one of the funniest things to me. Especially the fact that people actually showed up and then they just turned it into like a festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is just phenomenal to me.
If you
I love
enjoy
that.
the stuff around that raid, go watch. This is funny because we were talking about it before. Go watch the All Gas No Brakes YouTube video of the raid of Area 51. He interviews like the people there and stuff. It's absolutely hilarious. Like you should watch it. It's so funny.
One of my favorite memes that came of that event was it was someone there was like they use this meme pretty often, someone running away from Area 51 holding something.
Sure.
And my favorite one was someone holding Mamba number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
That is good. That is good. I like that.
That is really good. All right. So for my next one, I don't know if this is allowed. If it's not, let me know and I will choose something else. But I do like the idea of hollow Earth.
Oh yeah, of course. That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Why would it be?
Well, I didn't know because Joe took flat Earth.
No,
and I
they're
was like,
completely
"Well,
different conspiracies.
I know they're different, but I was like,
No,
Earth
you're
thing.
good.
Because it's very funny to me because my ex's uncle was a hollow earther.
Oh.
So there were a lot of fun party times hearing about that. But the fact that like I feel like that's kind of accessible information. Like you don't think somebody would have tried by now to go down there? They've dug some pretty deep holes. And I feel like there's plenty of supporting evidence that says like maybe not down there. There's some pretty hot stuff down there. You know?
There was a documentary about that too. I was actually going to make the joke. I don't remember who the starring actor was. It was the movie The Core, where they have to it stops spinning and they have to like go restart it with a nuclear bomb or something. Which, listen, awful movie, but great movie. Like sometimes movies are just like fun. Like I was saying that to my wife before we were talking about something. I forget what movie, but I don't like it. Like there's some that are objectively bad, but you'll still like rewatch them. Oh, actually, we were talking about Robin Hood, the new version of Robin Hood with the guy from Kingsman. Yeah. So it's like objectively a terrible movie. Like the movie's all over the place. It can't keep one plot like straight. Like it's awful. But it's like a fun kind of rainy day action movie. Like I'd watch it again, even though it's a bad movie. And that's kind of like what The Core was like it's terrible, but like it's fun. Like they got to set off a nuke to restart the Earth spinning. Like sure, well I'm in for it.
Sure,
like
why not?
Oh well.
yeah.
I'm already here.
Yeah, right. All right, so then we have Joe with his third pick.
Oh, we're back to me.
We are indeed.
Oh, interesting.
That is how a 1, 2, 3 draft works.
Oh man, which one's next? I have one that I'm saving for last because I don't think you guys are gonna hit on this one.
Sure.
Yeah, let's go with the gay frogs.
Okay.
Gay frogs next.
Oh.
This has been the source of many memes and remixes
Sure.
and videos on YouTube and so on and so forth. But this one, I'm sure it doesn't stem from Alex Jones, but Alex Jones was the person who popularized this meme.
Yeah.
This conspiracy theory of chemicals being put in the water that is, quote, turning the frickin' frogs gay. Hilarious. Just so much hilarious content has come out of this one. Obviously drinking water is not clean. Drinking water is not accessible everywhere, and there are things in the water, but saying that something is in the water that is turning frogs gay is one of the most hilarious, nonsensical things that could possibly happen.
One of the funniest things about that too is, if I remember correctly from Jurassic Park, I think they used frog DNA in the dinosaurs, and then we learned, I don't know if it's accurate, but we learned that some frogs can change their sex. So to me that's extra hilarious, because instead of the frogs just changing their sex, they decide to just be gay. They just keep the same sex and be gay instead. So which is cool, but it definitely gives me a hilarious visual of just the choice they have to make. Ooh, should I change my sex and then we can do this, or do I just want to be a gay frog? It's decisions.
Yeah, Google it if you haven't seen the dozens of remixes on YouTube.
I was gonna say there's got to be like music videos and everything. That was a popular one for a while.
That's so good. I can't believe I didn't take that one. Yeah, honestly.
So this is where it gets tough to have the wraparound, because I have one that I definitely want, but then I'm so torn. I want to make this like a 10-round draft, because conspiracy theories are so much fun. No, we're not gonna, but I want to. I might finish this draft with my wife as the audience later. I'm just gonna make her sit there and listen to my conspiracy theory thoughts, because they're just so much fun. I think I'm gonna double up on the Britney Spears one with another really funny one that a lot of people might not know, because for me this encapsulates everything a conspiracy theory should be, which is absolutely ridiculous and there's no reason for this to exist, but it's also potentially true, and that makes it funnier. So this is, I don't know if you guys have heard of this. This is the conspiracy theory that the only reason that Disney created the movie Frozen was to stop Google results from returning all the stories about Walt Disney's body being frozen. So they wanted, when people Googled Disney Frozen, then the movie would come up on all the Google search pages instead of Walt Disney's frozen body. And
that's insane.
To me, that is I know, I read that and I was like, this is incredible, because it's wacky, it's hilarious, and it could be true. That could be plausible. They could have named that movie anything. They could have made it anything. Disney's Elsa, Disney's Ice Queen, Disney's, Talking Snowman. They could have named it anything. But they went specifically with Frozen.
Yeah.
And now whenever you Google Disney Frozen, that's what comes up on the first 20 pages of Google.
I wouldn't doubt it. And the only reason I'm not surprised is because I also ran into that one when I was searching. I had not heard of that one prior.
Well, and this the short. The short? You know how Disney has those Disney shorts?
Oh, sure.
The short one for Frozen is called Frozen, cryogenically frozen bodies.
I thought you were being serious for a minute.
No. I know. I was like, why does he have this information?
I was being ridiculously serious.
Oh, fair point. That always reminds me, there's a clip from Family Guy where they make a joke about when the title is in the movie. And then he's the Peter Griffin is sitting in the movie and they say the quote and he's like, that's the name of the movie.
They did the thing.
They did the thing. That's good. All right. So this one was really tough because I still have I was actually hoping that you guys would take a few of mine so that it would help me narrow it down, because I still have so many good ones to choose from. But I think I'm going to go with this because, again, I just love the sheer ridiculousness of it. So this is the conspiracy theory. And this, again, I need to preface, this isn't one whack job. This was started by, I have it written down here. This was started by a government official and then became a whole conspiracy. And that is that Israel has control of evil trained sharks that they use on their enemies. So this is a real
laser beams?
No, so this is I swear this is a real GPS infused sharks that are under mind control and were trained to attack enemies. because apparently there were a series of shark attacks off the coast of Egypt in 2010, which caused a South Sinai official to blame Israel's government, saying that they were causing the sharks to do this, which spun off a whole conspiracy theory, like subsection of the internet, where people accused, like genuinely accused Israel of having like the technology to like GPS equip and train sharks. I think they've seen the movie Deep Blue Sea one too many times. But that is a real conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
and I love it.
There are a lot of conspiracy theories aimed at Israel as well as just Jewish people in general.
Sure.
Like tons of anti-Semitic ones, and most of them are just so ridiculously nonsensical.
Sure, that's why I definitely like. You could have went a million directions with Israel.
Yeah. No, this is one of the better ones.
I felt like even though it involved Israel, it's clearly not anti-Semitic in any way. It's just revolved around them as a being, Israel as a being,
as an entity.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I don't even know. It's like is it a sovereign nation? I honestly don't even remember what Israel's categorized as, because it's not a country. I don't know. Is it like no? Israel's not a country, is it?
It's not.
I don't know if it is. I might be sounding really stupid right now, but I didn't think it was categorized as a country. I thought it was like a sovereign state or something like that. I could be way off base.
Hey, I might be wrong. It's a Middle Eastern country.
Okay. All right. So then as a country, that's on me. I sound like an idiot. I'm not going to edit it out. You guys can laugh at me. But yeah, so I feel like it had nothing to do with like Jewish people or anything. It's just as Israel as a country, it could have been any country that was accused of having laser GPS sharks. So that will be my fourth pick. I'm going to, stick with the ridiculous theme there. Well, I mean, they're all ridiculous, but that one's like extra crazy. A little extra spicy sauce on that one. So Joe, you are up for your fourth pick.
Oh, it's back to me again?
Yeah, you're in the middle, buddy. You're the meat on this sandwich.
Let's go with the one that the DNC was running a child sex ring out of a pizza shop, because that one's hilarious.
A pizza shop.
It is pretty funny.
Pizzagate. Known as Pizzagate. There was a claim on the internet to the point where I think someone like attacked the pizza shop or something, like tried to like blow it up or some ridiculous thing like that. I don't remember exactly, but Pizzagate. And this guy I used to know, I used to see him at parks playing poker. He would always talk about Pizzagate like it was a real thing. And eventually one day he told me, he's like, yeah, I don't really think it's a real thing. I just want to find out who at the table does think it's a real thing.
That's kind of dangerous though, because like, not dangerous, but like risky, because like if you don't explain that to other people, then they think you're the crazy one.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that's the best way to go about that. Like like making yourself seem crazy to see who else might be crazy. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that's
this dude was a little crazy himself.
Well, you have to be to employ that strategy.
Obviously.
But I feel like if you're going to go that route, you have to, at the end of the night, tell the rest of the table, be like, listen, I don't actually think that stuff. Like, I was just seeing who does.
Like,
you know?
Yeah.
And even
Just
then,
kidding.
people are still going to be like, dude, you're a little weird. Like, you know, like, I don't know about that one, Chief.
Oh, no.
But, that's funny. All right, Brandy, you are going to finish up your draft here. You got picks 4 and 5.
Yes. This one was kind of funny to me at first. It's another one of those ones that's like, yeah, it could have happened. But it's the conspiracy theory that Amelia Earhart was eaten by crabs.
This is the most true conspiracy that we've said so far. I actually believe this one. Like, straight up, I believe this one.
That's what I mean. I feel like that's entirely like I
they
don't
found
feel like it needs to be a conspiracy theory.
Didn't they find?
That's what I find funny.
So there's the island that has like the 3-foot long hermit crab or not hermit crab. Coconut crabs that actually will eat, like they'll tear apart flesh and
pigs.
stuff. Yeah, they eat pigs. Yeah, 3 feet long. Swear to God, like they're enormous.
No, I'd rather have
They eat
birds.
pigs and stuff.
So they find like washed up like airplane parts and like didn't they find a body, like a skeleton?
Think she crashed on the island and then was eaten by the crabs. And the thing that's funny to me is that like this is an entirely feasible thing.
Yeah, I believe
why
this
does it
one.
need to be a conspiracy theory? Like I believe that there's a very good chance this could.
That's why I didn't put it on my list. It definitely still counts for your team. Like, it definitely still counts. But that's why I didn't put it on my list, because I was like, that's not a conspiracy. That's just fact. That's just what happened.
I mean, it came up in a Google search.
That's just what happened.
Theory, so it's like, I guess like, I just feel like that's feasible.
Yeah, no, that one is absolutely. That's like birds not being real. Like, they're both just true. Like, they're both just
and
real
speaking
things.
Of birds, it was swooping season, not pecking season.
Oh, swooping season.
Magpies.
Okay,
and because
that's
only
less terrifying, to be fair.
Yeah, I guess.
Is it? It's the same thing.
Yeah. No, the event is as terrifying. The name isn't as terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Swooping season sounds better than pecking season.
We can go with gouging season.
Yeah, right? That's the only one worse. All right, so we're on to the last round now.
Yeah.
So pick number 5.
Yep. I honestly,
there's so many good ones. So many good ones.
I was in a time crunch and I couldn't think of one that was particularly funny. But rather, this one more interests me more. I have to go with the Jersey Devil.
Okay.
I'm from Jersey, and
sure.
growing up, your lives as a child, especially being from the Pine Barrens general area,
sure,
your lives like revolve around it when you're younger.
Sure.
In certain groups, there's a place called Devil's Pool that's hidden back in the Pine Barrens. We've gone back there a couple times, and there's a conspiracy, I guess, that's where the Jersey Devil goes to bathe. It's a spot where they think a meteor hit, because it's apparently so deep that they can't find the bottom of it. This is all hearsay. I don't know if any of this is actually true. I've seen it, but I don't know if any of this info behind it is actually true.
Sure.
They can't get to the bottom of it because it's
literally and figuratively.
Yeah. And it stays like the same temperature all year round. It's like 62 degrees or something. There's just like all this mystery surrounding it. And I just found it really interesting. And it's just like, it was a staple of my young growing up.
Sure. Part of the area. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm from Jersey as well, and I know Joe's from not too far from Jersey over the border, so I'm sure he's probably heard it at some point. But yeah, we definitely heard about that.
But it kind of had a big resurgence when that Blair Witch movie came out.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's such a similar story.
That brought it back into the
I think Blair Witch was based off of the actual Jersey Devil story.
I think in part, yeah. I think that's kind of what they were going for. But all right, cool. Little local lore in there. All right, Joe, your last pick.
All right, so this one's cool because it has a little relevant connection to pop culture currently.
Sure.
This is a conspiracy theory that I did not hear about until recently, where the government created a arcade game and put it in arcades across the country as like a social experiment. Like, the game was created by the government and basically would feed them data based upon what the players did as sort of a social experiment. The game was called, I think it's pronounced Polybius, Polybius.
Okay.
And
never heard of it.
I had never heard of it either until I was watching the Loki Disney Plus series. And spoiler alerts, this isn't really a spoiler because it's just an Easter egg, but in the void, when Loki's walking around, there's an old arcade game that says Polybius on it.
Yeah.
So it's a reference to that conspiracy theory. There was no game ever called that or anything like that. It's just a reference. And that's the first time I ever heard of it, when I was looking at an Easter egg thing from Loki. Really, really cool concept though, because like I can imagine, video games originally started as, training for military.
Sure.
And I could see the government doing something like that, trying to get tabs on people back in like the 70s and 80s when arcades were really popular. But just a little tidbit with the connection to
what was the game. It wasn't Pong. They weren't figuring out what grip that you used for the Pong.
Bing,
yeah.
Bing. No Pong.
That is pretty funny. I've never heard that before. That's a good one. All right, so real quick before I make my last pick, I'll wrap up a couple of the ones, or I'll go over a couple of the ones that were on my list but aren't going to make the cut, just for people who might have been looking out for these. I had reptiles ruling the earth, like people being like reptile people. That was on my list.
Yeah, that's an anti-Semitic one too.
Is it really? That I didn't know.
Yeah,
I just figured it was like a weird people thing. I'm glad I didn't go with that then. I didn't know that had a background, which is funny. Well, that's funny because the example that they use, which is partly why it was on my list because I found this hilarious, was when they were talking about it, the person that they used as an example was they said among these lizards is Justin Bieber. And I couldn't figure out why he was like the one that they were using as the example. Right? Yeah, it could be anybody. And they went with Justin Bieber. That just made it funnier to me. This one was so close. This was almost my pick. But Finland not being real. I'm surprised nobody picked that, honestly. I thought somebody was going to pick that.
About that.
Yeah, I thought for sure that was going to go. That was close. That was probably the one I would have picked if it wasn't for the one that I'm going to pick. I found out that people thought the ice bucket challenge was a satanic ritual to summon like Satan.
And you didn't use that?
That was close too. That was close too.
Wow.
April is the government ritual sacrifice season. Apparently a lot of people die, like a lot of famous people die in April, and there's like a conspiracy that it's the government sacrificing them. It's a whole thing. It's great. Read about it. The Beatles never existed. Not that Paul McCartney got replaced. Like the Beatles never existed. They were a rotating like band of lookalikes that I don't even know that would still be the Beatles. I don't get how that means they never existed, but whatever. It's just different people. This one was great. Saved by the Bell was a tool to secretly endorse Satanism in children. There was like satanic undertones to like the messages or whatever. I don't know, but it's hilarious. I didn't read too much into it because the title was enough. Like that's hilarious enough.
I feel like people claim that so many things that
that's
the
go-to
generation watches
Satanism. And then the last one that I didn't choose is that dinosaurs helped build the pyramids. Yeah. And that again, I almost chose because that's hilarious.
Wait, that's not true.
I listen. Who knows? Can we really know? Is there any way to know for sure? So the one I'm deciding to go with is involving the moon, but it's not the one that you think.
Oh, it's not Stanley Kubrick?
It's not the moon landing being fake. It's the fact that the moon doesn't exist. There is a conspiracy theory. Yes, there's an actual real conspiracy theory. It's by a lot of the flat earthers. There's a very significant overlap because what they believe is that the earth is flat, so there can't possibly be a moon. So the moon is a projection, which to me is amazing because I just picture somebody on a rooftop in like New York City with like the bat signal, except it's the moon. Like they're just like, so on nights where it's like really overcast and you can't see the moon, I wonder if they think like, those idiots forgot to turn on the moon projection. Now we got them. That's like, I wonder how deep it goes. Like when you can see the moon when you can see the moon and the sun at the same time, and then they're like, those idiots screwed up the timer and they put the moon on too early. There's just so much quality in that theory.
If you project something not directly onto something,
no, don't think about it.
Show up.
Don't think about it too hard. No, don't think about it. You're thinking too much for a conspiracy theory. You're thinking too much. Yep. You're using too many brain cells to try to figure out what's happening. I just told you that people thought Ice Bucket Challenge was a satanic ritual. You can't use brain cells when you're.
That's true. You can't use logic here.
So that will wrap up the draft. The moon not being real. I liked where we went. I liked how we ended up.
I did so. There were a couple. I'm surprised no one mentioned Slender Man. That's been a popular.
I was gonna put Slender Man.
It was like too mainstream for me. I think.
I find it very interesting that all of us stayed very far away from anything 9/11 related.
Yeah, that was.
I kind of saw that we were probably gonna all do that.
Yeah, that was a no-go for me. I figured comedy podcast, keep it light.
Yeah, moon landing. I'm kind of surprised because that was on.
Obvious. It's too much. Like it's too
good one though.
Yeah, it's a good one for sure. It's a powerhouse.
It was my backup. None of you guys chose mine, but it was my backup. My first backup.
Sure.
My second backup being that someone hangs himself in the background in like one of the scenes in Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz, yeah.
Yeah. Doing the research for this, I found out that cow tipping is not real.
Yeah, I knew that too. It's like a long-standing joke.
It's like a urban myth.
I saw it come up on the list, but I didn't read it at all. I just saw the title cow tipping, and I just didn't even look at it.
That's funny.
Yeah, apparently that's not actually a thing.
Yeah,
despite I thought it was.
You know how hard it would be to tip a cow? You know how huge they are?
Yeah, they're ginormous, but like
they're very sturdy.
Like a couple people.
They have 4 legs, so they have pretty good balance. But all right, so that'll wrap it up. We'll let you guys get out of here. Those are our teams. I'll post them online. The link to the voting, as always, will be in the descriptions of wherever you're listening to this and or watching this. Again, if you're enjoying the podcast, give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us out, helps with the algorithm, gets more people to see us. We really appreciate it. If you think you have a good idea for a draft category, shoot me an email at ridiculouslyseriousPodcast@gmail.com. That's all we have for today. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.